Experience is the best teacher. This is Walks of Life, and we've given tape recorders to people with various experiences for them to document their lives. Good day, I'm Cecil Gano, and today we will be hearing another story from our most favorite radio diaries. This is recorded by a girl named Nicole Valero, and she's 20 from Tagbilaran City. Here's her story.
I have here one of my favorite music. It's entitled Ice and Fire, one of Twilight's soundtracks. Once again, I am in my most comfortable room surrounded by all this stuff, which reminds me of how I became who I am. Well, things have changed. I have changed. I used to be this carefree, spoiled brat who values my friends more than my parents simply because my parents never gave me enough attention and that they were always busy. Well, at that time it was alright because I believed that at least I have a whole family. But unfortunately, this complete family relationship thing that I treasured struck me. I soon found my family relationship breaking into pieces. Well, I may say and recall it as something very exciting. There were fights, there were policemen, scenes which I could compare to watching dramas or teleseries. But trust me, honestly, at those times, it was not easy. August 5, 2011. It's lunchtime and I'm in our pawn shop with my mom and her secretary, and as usual my mother is always talking, and I believe that talking is her favorite hobby. Well, she's so much happier now compared to the times when she and my father were fighting. And as much as I had changed, I can see that my mother, both my parents, are trying to improve our family relationship. Before, I usually complain about them not spending enough time with me. But now, I can see that they're trying to keep up. They're spending more time with my brother. And now the phone is ringing, and I believe that is my father. He's calling from Talibon. On times like this, when I hear them speak to each other, I can always feel a smile deep within me, especially that I never thought that we will be a whole family again. I can even recall those times that on the peak of their fight, they let me choose between the two of them, and on that time, I chose to be with my father because I believe that if I went with him, I can still have more chances of putting them back together, especially that I can act as a bridge for them to have a connection. That was the very reason why I chose to study my high school years in Talibon. And then with that decision, my mother really felt very betrayed. It took me months and months, perhaps years of explaining to her that reason. Well, that was a little bit long time ago. Presently, I am in the mall, and I can see a lot of people passing by. Some of these I know, but actually most of these I don't. Well, when I am in a crowded area like this, I usually recall something about the issue of trust, which I am very sensitive about, especially that I experienced something traumatic about it, or perhaps something very unpleasant. Well, you know what? On those times when I was in Talibon and I was new there and I had no friends, and luckily, or I felt lucky that time, my father introduced me to someone whom at first he introduced as his relative. And since I do not have any friend that time, I became close to her, and she was like a best friend to me, especially that she was really very good to me at first. And then, sooner when time passed by, people keep telling me that my father is having an affair with another woman, and on that time I was not really ready to accept those kinds of facts. But then I need to try to investigate if that were true. So one day when my father was out and he left his cell phone, I tried to scan his messages, and then I found something which I was expecting, but it was from someone whom I did not expect. You know, on that young age, I could not just believe that something that seems so positive and good can be something very deceiving. I could not completely, or perhaps my mind can comprehend, but not my heart, that there exists a thing such as lies, betrayal. Yes, perhaps I was, what, innocent or just completely stupid, not to realize why she was always there in our house in Talibon, and that why she and my father seemed to be very close. Well, yes, it was her. That other girl is my friend. Well, she was not a relative after all. Heading for school. Wait, I have a message, and it's from Vanessa. Well, by the way, Vanessa is my cousin who lived with me in Talibon. Well, I can recall those days that we shared tears and everything else there, especially in those times that my father decided to let the third party reside in our residence in Talibon. Well, actually, she was still my friend no matter what happened. That's why on those days that we were living together, I still respected her. Well, honestly, yes, I felt the pain, but there was never once in all those years that I really felt hatred for her. Yes, I did have the most stupid and craziest idea, like, since I knew that there is now very, very little chance of putting my parents back together, I thought that perhaps I could make a scene, like I could pretend to run away, or pretend that I am pregnant, or what, pretend to commit suicide, thinking that they will try to think of taking care of us instead of thinking of their personal feelings. But then, eventually, I did nothing and just watched things happening in front of me. Today is the Cast Sports Fest 2011. I will be turning over my title as a Miss Cast Sports Fest 2010. I totally changed now. I have more confidence and I'm more active in school. So different from what I was before. Honestly, I mentioned that I was a spoiled brat. I was always late during classes and that I go to school only twice or thrice a week. A lot of people were wondering why I changed for the better, not changed for the worse despite all those problems that I encountered in my life. Well, those changes were caused from all the people that I was with when I was in Talibon. If not because of those sisters or monks from where I graduated from my high school education, if not because of those supportive friends, if not because of those encouraging teachers, and if not because of all those meaningful advices, I will not become who I am or where I am now. I may have experienced a lot of difficulties, but all those difficulties paved the way for me to become a better person. Aside from that, it also paved the way of letting my family have a more harmonious relationship, which we gain from learning from the past. Well, with all my experiences, yes, life is sometimes an unfair reality, and that we can never avoid storms of life. There will always be pain, there will always be sacrifices. But you know what? The very thing that I learned from all those experiences is that we people should learn to look at things positively. Because after all that happened, I am here to say that everything happens for a reason.
Life is truly a challenging road to take. But as what they say, every challenge makes us a better person. Once again, this is Cecil Dano and I hope that you were touched and inspired by her story. Hear us again next week here in Walks of Life.